What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Sweet. Hey, Deb, how you doing?
Good. Good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you. I've been doing well. Thank you for taking the extra time out of your day. I know it's a little late over there in Florida.
Yeah, a little. Not bad. I work late anyway. That's just me.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
I'm going to wait a little bit for people to trickle in. Deb, can you do me one favor and make sure you can share your screen? I think I gave you access, but I just want to make sure in case you're sharing anything.
It says you're not allowed to share, but I really don't have anything to share, so that's okay. I mean, I've got a couple things I
Okay.
can hold up. I've got a couple samples and things like that.
Okay. If you want me to share anything, just go ahead and email it to me.
Okay.
All right, guys, I see it picking up. Lots of people coming in. Where's everyone coming in out of? I'm in Phoenix, Arizona right now. I can't even remember where I'm at half the time. I feel like I've been on the move lately. Virginia.
Well, you guys are really moving and shaking over there. I tell you, I get your emails and your communications, and just always something better and newer. And I'm intrigued to hear about some of the improvements and different things you guys have added to your system, because it seems like you guys are responding to the market, or actually to your clients, because a lot of the things I see you guys adding are things that people are questioning, giving me questions about, like, how do I do this, or where can I do this? Things that are going to be helpful, tools that are going to be helpful for people to be able to identify certain things and do it easily. Because a lot of the things they're asking about, like, identifying hot markets, things like that, a lot of it was done manually before, or at least it was abstracted from a lot of different sources. So I'm super excited to hear about some of the changes that you guys have implemented.
Yeah, I'm excited to share a lot. It's been a while since I hopped on a webinar just to discuss strategy. The landscape has changed, and it's like there's so much you can do with technology lately. Obviously, you don't want to get too deep in the weeds. I'm always a guy that's like, I know there's technology, like I know it exists, but I also know what to avoid and not to dig too deep in, and just like focus on the stuff that actually executes and gives results without like wasting too much of my time. So yeah, like we've been releasing a lot. It's hard to keep up with it, to be honest. Like there's a big feature set with Land Insights, and the marketing landscape has changed so much. So I'm happy to share like what's important right now and what everyone should be focusing on. I'd like to start off by everyone showing in the comments, what's your primary marketing method right now? Is it mail? Is it text? Is it cold call? Is it PPC? What is it? What are you spending most of your time on right now? Where's all your energy going? Just so I get a good feel where everyone's at. Sweet. All right, I guess, Deb, we should both introduce ourselves. So I'll go ahead and start off. I'm Rylan Loader. I am the co-founder of Land Insights, and I'm a longtime land investor now. I'm happy to say that. I've been in the business since 2020. My business has done millions of dollars in transactions. We've done all types of marketing. Direct mail is definitely one of my favorites. And yeah, I've kind of been on the forefront of like technology in this business. So with the help of like developing Land Insights and running it in correlation with my land business, we've been able to skyrocket our business. So I'm here today just to talk about strategy, how we can implement tools and technology to make better direct mail offers, just have better direct mail and a better system in general. And we're here with Deb from Rocket Print. I'm sure a lot of you guys know who she is. She's huge in the land space. So Deb, you want to give a nice intro?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, by the way. Yeah, I'm the VP of sales at Rocket Print. Rocket Print is a division of Postcard Mania. So if you've ever heard of Postcard Mania, our founder created Rocket Print because Postcard Mania only does postcards. So she found about 2 years into business that she was having to refer clients outside of Postcard Mania. So we are all one big company. I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I've been here 17. So I've been in the space a long time. In the last 10 years, I've really concentrated on primarily land. And when I say primarily, I probably personally handle 98% of our land clients. Of course, I have a full team, but we have a whole nother group of set of people within Rocket Print that do things other than land. I just found it very interesting, and I had so many clients that I just felt like I was best suited to really specialize and help those. So one of the things we do is we have a full results department. So we actually track people's results. So when my team makes recommendations, it's based off of an actual result from another investor like yourself. It's not like we're saying, oh, this worked for a dentist and it should work for you. So I'm very fortunate to have a full division that's all they do is help us track results and gather case studies. So anyway, that's really it in a nutshell. Is in the last 10 years I've been in land. I've been doing this for 30 years, and just really happy to be here to help you guys figure out what's working and what strategies are proven to be most successful right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Deb. Yeah, I've been working with Rocket Print for years and years now, and there's no other mail service I've ever used. I know they're the most affordable in the market and the easiest to work with. So I highly recommend Rocket Print if you guys aren't working with them already. So yeah, let's jump into things. So make sure you guys stick around. We're giving a couple juicy offers away at the end of the call from both sides, Rocket Print and Land Insights. So make sure you stick around. And honestly, you're going to want to stick around for this. This is purely strategy-based land investing tips I'm giving out. This is coming from my process, my skills and experience. So you can take away a lot from this. And this will all be recorded and given back to you if you miss anything. But yeah, go ahead, take notes. And even if you're on Land Insights, you can follow along, try it out. But yeah, like this is going to be purely what is working in 2026. How has things changed? How can we use technology to run a better system and get better results? I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right. Can you see it all right?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. So today we're just going to be talking about why land investors fail at direct mail and why others win in 2026. And then we'll jump into our first portion of basically a strategy recovery, if you say, or kind of just the new way of doing things that's been working for me. So these are like the core reasons I'm saying why people are failing at direct mail. I'm involved in communication with a lot of investors. I have like a pretty tight-knit community of high-level operators. And from conversations I've had with them, these are like the main points that are causing people to struggle in the market today. So the first one, I've been banging the drum on this one for years. Consistency with mail output. People just send a mailer and they lose track of it. They don't check their KPIs, and then they just don't send more after that. They're like, oh, once a month I'm going to send letters, and then 2 months later I'm going to send letters again. They never follow through and stay consistent with their marketing. So like that is the key to running a marketing business, is having a consistent schedule of sending it out. I recommend once a week you're pumping out mail, not once a month. You're doing it once a week and you're sticking to it. And if you fall off, you're holding yourself accountable. So like that's the main thing. If you're not consistent, you don't have a consistent schedule, you're going to fail with your direct mail because you cannot analyze your results and your lead flow is inconsistent. One day you're having people call you a bunch, and then next week nobody's reaching out, and then you're following up. It's just this weird yo-yo effect going back and forth with marketing. As soon as I cracked that code and I stayed consistent, that's when things really took off for me in the early stages of my business. So that's the first thing. Second thing, nobody really talks about this anymore. Everyone talked about, oh, like there's no competition in the land space. There is absolutely competition in the land space. There are many people hitting the same market over and over again, and the sellers are fatigued. So picking uncrowded markets is very important nowadays. Target markets, other investors aren't hammering. Sellers there aren't buried in offers. So you want to pick the markets nobody's thinking about. You want to pick the stuff that's not a no-brainer and something that has decent demand, but not too high of demand. or it's not in common places like the Triangle of Texas or the Research Triangle in North Carolina or South Carolina in general. Those three markets are so oversaturated by land investors, and people keep picking them because the demand is great. But there's like, I think there's 3,200 counties in the US, and a lot of people are honing in on like 70 counties over and over again. And I can see this all on my side. And I've worked in these markets lately where there's oversaturation. And what I'm dealing with nowadays is fatigued sellers, people who think their land's worth so much because there's a bunch of brand new land investors sending out offers that are way too much. So their selling price expectations are so high. And then we're just dealing with the leftovers. There were tons of motivated sellers in these markets a couple of years ago, but now they're all gone. There's not a lot of people that are like ready to sell. There's not crazy turnover in these markets. So once it gets oversaturated, there is a recovery period of time. And these main markets, just North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, those markets in general, they're in a recovery phase, and there's just leftovers. You'll get calls back, but they're not motivated sellers by any means. And sure, you'll get some deals out of it, but I've seen way better results in the markets nobody else is working in. So that's very important nowadays. Number 3, using AI to find markets. So 2 and 3 are kind of connected together. You can use AI to find great markets that have like decent demand that are uncrowded. And I'll teach you guys the strategy to do that in this call. So making sure you can leverage AI in the right way. Don't go too deep, but use it and leverage it in a easygoing way that is not too time consuming, but is effective. At number 4, accurate and conservative offers. I just see letters come in my mailbox every week, and these offers are just ridiculously high. Like, I know I bought a property for 40 grand and sold it for 70, and somebody's offering $100,000 on it. So like, or somebody's offering $5,000 on it, right? So you're on both ends of the spectrum. You need to make sure you're pricing your letters consistently, and that's something we'll cover this week on how to price your offers correctly and quickly. Something people struggle with. I would say number 1 and number 4, consistency with mail output and coming up with accurate offers. This causes this a lot of the time, and so does the market selection cause this. So I want you guys to come out of this week knowing how to quickly find a great market that nobody else is working in, and how to quickly price that accurately and conservatively so that you can stay consistent with your mail output. So this is huge. Clean data and stack filtering. I mean, if you've used Land Insights before, you know we have a lot of great stacked filtering so that we're targeting great properties. So making sure you're running effective campaigns, you're targeting the right sellers, and you're targeting the right land that's actually useful in a good property. Number 6, dispo listing quality. This is something even the highest level operators struggle with, is listing a property correctly and knowing how to run a listing. So it comes down to the images you're putting up, the description you're putting out, putting it on the MLS and not using Facebook or Craigslist to sell your properties, and knowing when to price drop and when to relist. That's one of the big things we'll cover this week, is when you should relist your property. If you want to run a solid land investing company, you need to know how to pick up properties quickly and know how to sell them quickly. This is a machine. This is an assembly line, and we want to make sure we're running it as efficiently and quickly as possible so that you can turn over that capital, reinvest it in your business, and build a legitimate high operating business. So selling your property is just as important as buying a property, especially nowadays. In 2022, 2023, 2024, those 3 years, it was so easy to sell your land that you can put it up at any price and you're going to get people walking it and giving you offers. That's just not the case anymore. We are in a strong buyer's market nowadays. People are picky with what they're looking at. So you got to have a nice property, you got to have a good price, and your listing needs to stand out. Okay. Focus on buying A+ properties. Don't buy the property on a hillside. Don't buy a property with a ravine. Don't buy a property on a pipeline. Don't buy a property that doesn't have water. You need to make sure you're buying the right properties and doing your correct due diligence. because again, people are picky nowadays. When you list something on the market, they have options, and people like sellers are very motivated to sell on the MLS. So buyers are shopping around, right? For double close people out there that are doing double closes, your speed is super important. And what I mean by speed is contract signed to getting your listing up and closing. People are struggling with like getting a realtor to list their property after they get a 3-month double close contract signed. I want to make sure you guys come away from this series knowing how to quickly turn over your properties. So ideally, I want you guys to get a contract signed today and list it today or the next day and start getting buyers looking at your listing. If you're not doing that now, it's definitely possible. Don't think it's not possible. What I see with a lot of high operators is it's taking them like 2 weeks to get a listing up, which is just an absolute waste of time. And especially in this market, it's hard to sell land. So you need to be quick so you get exposure. Okay, so these are kind of the main points we'll be covering this week. Deb, is there anything you want to add just on the side of kind of like what you've seen as struggles from the land investors lately?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's interesting because I talk to hundreds of land investors every year. And you're so spot on, because the number one thing when I interview people, especially people that were new into the market, and that's the really satisfying part of my role, is that I get to see when they're actually becoming successful, and I get to hear about those things. But when I ask them what their number one mistake was, and this is when they're doing well, they'll say when they look back, they weren't consistent with their marketing, that they would put mail out there, they would get calls back, they would stop mailing because they think they have to get through the calls. So, and then what would happen is they would sell the one property they had, and then they'd be sitting there with nothing. So it's really important, that consistency, and a weekly cadence is good. Some people with standard mail every other week, but the thing is to be consistent with it. And it does make much more sense to send 1,000 a week than to do 4,000 a month, just because it flows. Flow is the whole world is about flow, right? Energy flowing, everything flowing. So that flow is so important, and just to have it consistent, whatever that means to you. And with the competition, that's changed a bit, because it used to be, and Rylan probably remembers this, you could send letters one time to a list and just get so much action on it. You would never have to mail to that list again for a year. That's really changed. It's just, since COVID, and it has to do with competition and other people being in front of that same potential seller. So you need to be in front of them. There's other smart ways to do that along with the mail. You can call, right? You can cold call, you can text, you can do some other things. But the important thing is, it's not like the good old days where you could send a mailer once and that would just satisfy everything you needed as far as inflow. So those are two things that are really important. And Rylan just did hit on those. I just wanted to bring up that there's so much truth to it.
Yeah, great. All right, so I want to start off things by talking about buyer pools. Okay, so there's a lot of different fundamentals that go into a strong buyer pool now, and we really need to hone in on what makes a good buyer pool nowadays. On my side of the business, last year we started seeing a big struggle in getting our listings sold, and it has a lot to do with the market. You can do a lot with dispo, you can have it dialed in, but if you're working in a bad market, you're not going to have that strong buyer pool. And like over the last few years, we always talked about, let's just go where the strong land demand is. Let's go where the high sell-through rate is. Let's go where there's low supply and high demand, right? But that's where your competition comes in. Everyone's going after these strong buyer pools and they want to go buy land. And then what happens is they struggle finding a seller. Nobody wants to sell the land to them because there's 50 other land investors sending offers. So this is a new strategy that I've implemented over the last year. And I basically honed in on these factors to drive results in my business. Sending out marketing, getting motivated sellers, and then being able to turn it around and resell it. So strong buyer pool is where you list a property and there are buyers ready to spend money. Okay. So obviously it all starts out with strong land demand. We want to look at the land statistics. We want to look at land insight stats. Where is the strong sell-through rate? Sell-through rate, if you guys don't know what that is, that's basically the ratio of how many properties sold compared to how many properties are for sale. So if there is 50 properties for sale right now, and there is 100 that sold in the last year, that is a 200% sell-through rate. So ultimately, the higher the sell-through rate, the higher the demand, okay? So we want to be looking at strong sell-through across our pending listings, so the quantity of pending listings, that's like our current market demand. We want to look at 3 months, so the last 3 months sell-through rate. We want to look at the last 6 months, and we want to look at the last 12 months, okay? So we're analyzing how is the current market and how is it driving upwards over time? How is demand driving upwards? Is it taking a downturn? What's going on? So we want to track historical sales data to figure out what's going on. Low days on market. So that's days on market of the properties that actually sold in that market. So if we're looking at a county, we're looking at every property that's sold and the average days on market of all those sold properties. So the lower the days on market, the more demand there is, right? And then we want to look at a healthy active supply. So you could have a strong high sell-through rate market, but you could have very few listings or a lot of listings on the market. And if there's too many active listings on the market, you go buy a piece of land, you go to resell it, you're competing with all these other listings. If you look at too few of active listings, you're not looking at a solid data set to make decisions off of. So let's say there's one market for sale or one property for sale on the market and 2 sold in the last year. That's not a great depiction of the actual sell-through rate. So we want a big statistical pot of sold listings so we can make data-driven decisions. We need a big, a decent supply to make our decisions. So what I say is a healthy active supply that we want to look for is 20 to 250 active listings for 2 to 100 acres. 2 to 100 acres has been my bread and butter in my business. That's generally what we target, rural acreage or like just big acreage. So we want to be looking for 20 to 250 active listings for sale right now in that acreage range. We want to remove something that's lower than that and something that's higher than that. Okay, so I've been banging the drum on this for years. Now let's get into the new stuff, okay? So these are all relevant into making a strong buyer pool. So population growth, it's obvious. We want people moving to the market that we're choosing. We want people looking for real estate to buy. We want a high population count, pretty obvious as well. We want a lot of people living there that wants real estate, right? So if there's a lot of people in your market, there's going to be more eyes on your listings. High average income. Not a lot of people talk about this. This is like one of the first times I'm talking about it. We want people with money to spend. We don't want to be going after a place that's just degrading and there's just no money going around. There's no good jobs out there. So we want to go after high average income relative to the US. So we have county residents with money to invest. Corporate investment, again, I don't talk about this often, but this has been bread and butter for us. And using AI, you can hone in on this stuff, is corporate investment. We want businesses investing in these markets. So I'll give you an example. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. There's a lot of microchip development going on. So a lot of money is being invested into microchips on the western side of Phoenix, and that has driven real estate up like crazy. People like it's kind of just this phenomenon where people see stuff in the news, they see investment from these companies in the news, they want to buy up the real estate all around it. It's just common sense for a lot of investors. So you want to act on those news articles. If someone's building like a Toyota factory in this rural market, everyone out there and their mom's going to be saying, hey, we should go buy land nearby because land values are going to go up. And because of that phenomenon, land values just go up and your buyer pool increases. So you want to act on that corporate investment. And then, like I was saying earlier, little to no competition. We want to work where other investors aren't working. So go where there's no competition. And you can create your own algorithms now that I'll bring up in this call on how you can kind of create your own scoring system for a market that takes into account all of this data, and you can bring in your own data. I recommend you bring in your own data. I'm teaching this on this call. People may do this same exact approach, and that may create an influx of marketing to these markets. So I recommend go find data sources that you think would drive land demand and factor that into your scoring for a market. And then last but not least, you need to be buying affordable land. So my mark that I target for just normal flips is $30,000 to $300,000. So this is market value land. I want to be sending offers to land that I think is worth between $30,000 and $300,000. Generally, it's the same exact process to buy and resell land for land this value. Do not toy with these stupid $5,000 listings. It's a waste of time. So that's why I put the minimum at $30,000. It's so easy to do a land transaction in this space. But honestly, when you try to buy and resell land that's $5-10 grand value, it's more difficult because you're dealing with like low level buyers. You're dealing with property that's unbuildable. You're dealing in weird markets. So I recommend going after the premium land in that range. And then anything over $300,000 is just kind of difficult to pull off, in my opinion. You're dealing with sophisticated sellers, and it's just hard to find buyers at that price point. This is the bread and butter. It's like people have cash for this, or people can get loans for this on the sell side. And yeah. So these are the fundamentals. Make sure you take notes or take screenshots of this. And what we're going to do from now on is just kind of a learn by doing process. I'm going to show you a strategy where you can bake all this in and create a scoring system for your market research process. Okay. So I've got Land Insights pulled up. Market research is available to Land Insights Pro only. And our API is also for Land Insights Pro only. So if you go and get a light or starter subscription to Land Insights, you will not have access to this. So this is where my business starts out. We utilized this market research tool to pick our markets in the past. Now we're utilizing AI with our API and this data to pick our markets via a scoring system. Okay, so on this map inside market research, you can see all the sell-through rate statistics. You can analyze data on a table. You can manually review it. And that it was a pretty tedious process back in the day. I'm just honing in on AI now to do the work for me. And that's now possible with our API release. So everyone on Pro, they can connect the API to their AI software, ChatGPT or Claude. I always recommend Claude. It's just way more capable. But for the people in this call that don't know what an API is or don't know like how to use Claude in your business, basically what we've done is given you the key, the access key to all of this data, this whole spreadsheet, all the demand, all the supply counts, all of this data in here. You can pull this into AI and you have AI analyze it. So it's just a direct stream from Land Insights data to your AI provider, Claude or ChatGPT, and you could just tell it to analyze it. And these AI systems are so good at analyzing data nowadays. I trust it, and you can just totally curate how it analyzes the data, and it'll do a lot of the work for you, which is crazy. So if you guys are on ChatGPT, my first recommendation I'm making is switch to Claude. Like the subscription cost is about the same. If you want to run data like heavily, it's $100 a month, but like light use is $20 a month. So first and foremost, I recommend switching to Claude. ChatGPT, it's behind the times. It was cool in the beginning. Claude's just like outpaced them by miles. So that's my first recommendation. Okay. So if you guys want to start analyzing data with Claude, all you need to do is go to your account settings, and you're going to go to API, and you're going to click integrate to my AI agent, and we have a full setup guide for you. So there's all these API integration guides. You're just going to want to follow the directions in here, and there's also videos as well. So the system I'm working on is Claude Desktop, which is basically an app on your laptop. So I'm on a Mac. I've got Claude Desktop, the app downloaded on my computer. And then I've also got the Chrome extension for Claude on my computer as well. So the power in having the desktop version is it's more capable. You can run Claude Cowork, and then you add Claude to your Chrome extension. You give Claude access to go use your computer and do stuff where it can't pull data from its system. So if I say like, hey, Claude, what's on the right hand corner of my page? It's going to go take over my computer and find that and tell me what's going on. So there's like weird data points that I'll get into later that you can pull just from your desktop. So you want this full setup, desktop and your Chrome extension. So just follow the directions. You can set up your API, and then you're just going to integrate it into Claude. I have a full tutorial on YouTube on how to set it up. So you can just look up Land Insights YouTube, check out that Claude setup, and you guys can get set up from there. But I don't want to waste time giving you guys a tutorial on how to set it up. I want to get into the strategy. So let's show you guys what is capable with this system. Okay, so I did a little bit of work just so we kind of like start off jamming. So I'm in Claude right now, and I just started basically a new cowork. Okay, so this is assuming I have API integrated. I'm starting a new cowork, and I just started a conversation. I said, give me a script that I can give Claude to find me the best markets from Land Insights. I want high demand, low supply, use previous knowledge from combos with me. So I did this because I've already had conversations and built stuff. And I wanted to like give you guys a script that you can plug and play. So I'll copy and paste this once it's done. You guys can plug this in and reuse it for yourself. So basically it used prior knowledge to take this, and you guys can just copy and paste this. And it's all the information it needs to analyze the data correctly. So basically what you would do with this script is copy it and paste it and tell it to use the API, and it's going to start analyzing. So task, find and rank the best land markets to work in X state for parcels 2 to 100 acres. Best is high demand, low supply. Deliver a full weighted score matrix of counties and drill the top counties down to their best zip codes. Use the Land Insights tool for all of this. Okay. So we're right here. I'm telling it what data to pull and how to analyze it. So use the Land Insights market stats tool. That means I'm pulling in the data over here. I'm pulling in this data. So use the market stats tool and pull for each county in this state. Active listings count. We want to see that current supply. Remember, we want to hit 25 to 250 active listings. Sold count over the last 12 months. Pending count. Sell-through rate. So all the sell-through rates. Including the pending, I think it was, pending was in there. Average median days on market, median sold price, median price per acre. So we're pulling it all in. So we're telling it, pull us in, and then we're going to analyze it. So then we're going to say, score each county, weighted matrix. So what I mean by this is it's comparing and contrasting every single county in this state based on these factors. So 50% of the decision is going to be on the sell-through rate. So I'm saying 50% of this decision, look at the sell-through rate. High demand, low supply, high sell-through rate is going to be pulling 50% of this decision. So we're like ranking a score, which is a weighted matrix if you ever took a stats class. 20% of that is going to be days on market. So we're pulling that data in from Land Insights, analyzing days on market, asking it, hey, if there's a low days on market, that means there's high demand. That's a good market. You want to rank it higher. So we say that right here, right? Sell-through rate momentum. So I want to see that sell-through rate climbing 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. I want to see it rising as of most recent. So we want to see an upward trend in demand. Pending demand. So that's 15% of our weight. High pending ratio means there's current active demand. Okay. And then it pulls in more details. Like you just want to give it as much information as possible. You want to tell it what you think is a good market, and then it's going to rank based on that. So rank and explain. Produce a rank table with columns, rank county, total score, sell-through rate, and then like tell me why. So you're ranking it based on the highest weight based on these stats. And then I told it to drill down to the top counties at zip level. We're not going to do that in this case. I actually removed it later on. So just don't worry about that step. And we're going to deliver just a weighted scorecard. Okay. So I'm just going back and forth. Like it gave me this, and I just went back and forth with it. So we'll get to So this is my feedback after it gave me this. Okay. I said, also remove any counties that have less than 25 active listings and more than 250 active listings for 2 to 100 acres when pulled from Land Insights. So we're saying remove those weird markets that I can't make a decision on or that is just flooded with listings. Okay. So it gave me an update. I said, do not drill zip codes. We don't want to do that in this case. I recommend doing it for mail. Updates it. And now I'm just going to say, let's run it. Okay, so it's gonna run. It takes a little bit. It's gonna take a few minutes. So literally, what it's doing right now is it's first asking this question: what state? I never gave it a state. Let's just run it for Alabama. So we never want to run this U.S. wide. You always want to be relative to your state. So never run it U.S. wide. It's just going to pull in too much data, and you can't compare a market in Alabama to a market in California. It's just you want to run it relative to a state. Every state has demand. I can tell you that. I've worked in dozens of states. Every state has demand. So rank your counties based on the state. So this is the first time I'm ever running this script. So it's going to it may mess up or it may ask questions. So stay put and be patient and give it as much feedback as possible. And over time, you'll build a really good script. So I just want to teach you guys how to do this because I want you to build your own stuff. It's probably going to be tomorrow or the next day, some point this week. We're going to give you files that run these decision processes for you. You can literally download the file and it's going to run a full market research scoring system for you. And all you have to do is plug in the state. And then you can iterate from that, make edits to it. But I just want to teach you guys how to run this stuff right now because I don't want to do all the work for you. I want you guys to know how to do the work because when you figure this stuff out, the sky's the limit. So I'm going to show you guys an example of one of these skill sets we built for you that you can download and upload. Again, it's not yet ready. It's going to be published probably at some point this week. Okay, so here's an example. I'm going to try to zoom it out a little bit. Yeah. Here's an example of an output you can make. So very similar process of what we just built out right now. And this is what it extracted and gave us. So it tells you how to read the report, pending sell-through rate, all that. And I told it to analyze the sell-through rates and rank it. So it ranked Chambers County, Alabama as number 1, 35 active. We have an 89 one-year sell-through rate. Oh, not bad, guys. And can you hear me all right? Yep.
Yeah, you're good, Ronald.
Okay. So this is just an example of what it pumps out. This was just a simple, hey, analyze the Land Insights data. We haven't connected the weighted matrix for population growth, any of that yet. It just did the analysis for us. So we don't have to be sorting through that market research table or that heat map to analyze the data and make decisions ourselves. So it's ranking based on the data and the script I gave it. How do you, high sell-through rate is good. Low days on market is good. In this case, I said low Gini, where is it easy to price? And it took into those factors and ranked it. Okay. And that was just doing the research for us. And I told it, hey, give me a summary why you came to that decision. It said Chambers County's, it ranked the top in the state, which is 35 active listings and 31 sold in the past year. 1-year sell-through rate is 88.6%. And pending sell-through rate is a standout, 34.3%. Buyers are absorbing more inventory almost as fast as it lists. If 154 days on market and a low 34 closed band Gini makes this a fast, easy to price market. Then absolute volume is the only caveat. So it's saying the only caveat is there's very few active listings, but honestly, it lands in that bucket of that's enough for us to make a decision. So again, I said, that matrix take into account sell-through rate, pending, days on market, and it's looking at all of that based on me saying high sell-through rate is good, low days on market is good, rank it all together, and it just does the analysis for us, and then it pumps it out. Okay. I also did a more in-depth one, which we'll get to in a second. let's check in on our Claude script right now and see what's going on. Okay, so it's still building right now. So let's say, for example, let's go back to that one. Where was it? Yeah, it was this one. Okay. So let's say we want to factor in those other decision points we want to make: population growth, population count, all of that. Let's say we want to factor this data in with the additional stuff to go find our own markets. So nowadays it's easy for people to just run this report, right? They can do it inside Land Insights market research, say, hey, I want to pick Chambers because it's the best performing. But there's other factors that also influence a good market. Maybe there's low sell-through rate, and that's because there's a bunch of weird listings that came on the market that are just like poor listings. It's like unbuildable, or like some houses accidentally got in that data set, like the MLS tagged it the wrong way. We can pick up on these markets that still have decent demand, but like excel in population growth or excel in average income. So we're going to say, take this list and create a new weighted matrix. So the current ranking that you pumped out is 50% of the weight. So we're saying 50% of your decision should rely on sell-through rates and all of that, days on market, all of that. Now factor in these data points by finding them on the internet. Okay, so those data points I talked about, population growth, average income, that's all readily available on the internet. And Claude will just go in, find it for you, extract it, bring it in, analyze it, give you a decision. So like, you don't need an API for this. I literally just found this by saying, Claude, find me this, and it worked. So I'm going to pull in those weights. So
Hey, Michelle, can you mute?
Story.
Okay, so I just copied and pasted population growth, higher the better. You just gotta be really specific with this stuff. Factor the data points by finding them on the internet for every county in that X score you gave me. So only the top 20 you gave me, right? So then you want to factor in population growth, higher the better. Population count, higher the better. Average household income, higher the better. Look through the internet to find job growth. We want lots of jobs popping up, and we want major manufacturing plants and major companies moving to these areas. That's where I said corporate investment and all that. It's going to be looking at like news articles. It's going to be looking at job growth percentage data that it finds on the internet. And it's going to pull it all in and just make a decision for me. So last thing we need to do is create the weights for that. So I'm just going to weight all of these evenly. So we have 50% left of the weight because Land Insights market research data takes up 50%. So we have how many points? 1, 2, 3, 4 points. So 50 divided by 4, 12.5%. So we're going to give each one 12.5% weight, and then we just click run it. So this is going to take a lot longer. So I'm going to show you a very similar output I made. So this is probably going to run like 10 minutes, I assume. And I may be able to show it to you guys on this call, but I can show you previous ones we built out and the one we're going to share with you guys at some point this week. Okay, so this is the one we previously ran. So it's already done. This is the script I gave it, right? And it pumped out this HTML file. So I like the HTML output a lot better than a PDF. If you want to share it with somebody, you do the PDF, but the HTML like makes it look super cool. So again, we saw here Chambers ranked high. We got new data in from Land Insights, so our sell-through rate actually went up recently, which is cool. And then it's just giving us our outputs. It talks about why it ranked it that way, and it shows us our counties. So I'm not saying you should rank on just these data points. I recommend going through our teachable course inside Land Insights to just get more educated on how to analyze demand using our tool. But these are the main ones I like to use. And yeah, these are all great markets, so you can see why they were chosen. Okay, so let's show you what happens after you do something like this. So I'm gonna let this run real quick. Okay, so let's show you an advanced one. So let's hold on a second, guys. Okay, so this is, yes, a more advanced report it gave me. Okay, so think the Alabama one we just did, and then think the matrix we just added. So we did that original one where it was analyzing all our stats and Land Insights. It's doing this new one is doing this, plus that new weighted system of population growth and all that. So look here, it ranked our top markets, and you can see like in this one, I ranked or weighted demand 40%. And then we can see population growth, population count, income, points or jobs, corporate investment. I also did building permits. So I was able to find building permit data. I factored in that. So it gives us a table of like our finalists from the demand table, tells us our sell-through rates, all that. And then it does a high level description of why it chose these markets based on all of those factors. So this report specifically, insights demand, population growth, population count, all that information, and it makes a decision from me, like it pumps it out and explains. So Spartanburg, the most complete land market in the state, 83% one-year sell-through rate on 137 closed deals. Nearly no one pairs that velocity with that volume. Plus a very high pending sell-through rate, 30.3%, 25.5 3-month sell-through rate. Demand is accelerating, not fading. Fundamentals back it up. 3% per year population growth. So a lot of people are moving there. 3% increase a year. An elite catalyst stack. So it found that BMW invested $700 million into building a battery plant. And then they're also building an aerospace plant out there, a $2.8 billion data center. So there's tons of corporate investment going on, which means jobs are going to come in as well. And then middling income, so like decent income relative to the US. So it ranked it as an 8.05 out of 10. And then it shows us the other ones as well. So what you'll see is in a lot of cases, the output from this with this weight is going to be different than the output from just running a report on Land Insights demand. And that's where we can find those markets that are not as easy to find. We're pulling in tons of different data sources and making decisions from it. So you can find these markets where nobody else is working in. And you can be more lenient, like say like, hey, I don't care too much about a really strong Land Insights demand. So I'm going to weight it 30% this time. You can toy with it. And then I'm going to add 2 other new data points. I'm going to add a housing capacity or a housing occupancy data point. That'd be a good one to add. Like, hey, I want markets where housing vacancy is very low. All these houses are filled, which means people can't find rentals because there's like a lot of demand for the rentals. Therefore, people got to buy land. So that'd be like a cool one you can add. You can also ask Claude, what do you think are cool data points you can find that would tell me there's really good demand for land in this market? So toy with the weights of the matrix, toy with the data you're bringing in, and toy with the weight you're giving on the Land Insights demand itself. So yeah, I know that's a lot for you guys to go over. I'll take a break right now and answer any questions you guys have. And maybe some of these questions will lead us into a further discussion on this stuff. Okay. Thanks for hopping in and answering some of these questions.
Yeah, this comes up a lot, Riley. Maybe I'd love to get your feedback on average days on market. What I found was that generally, it's what feeds into that more is whether people price properties right and took good photos and listing descriptions more than really a market indicator.
Right. So like I factor it in, it's just a lower weight. I would weight your sell-through rate a lot higher than a days on market.
Yeah, makes sense.
Hold on a second, guys. There's some Wi-Fi people over here. I'll be back a second. But Deb, if you want to add anything or try to answer any of these questions, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, that was all very interesting. I just today had someone asking me, how do you know where to mail to? So these tools they're developing are amazing. I can answer any questions you guys might have about your marketing. Are you guys have any questions in particular about what you're doing now or how you might improve it? Or I can just talk about that in general. The thing I just did a webinar for our company last week, and we talked a lot about the ebb and flow with the market. So, when you look at the overall market trends from before COVID with the highs in COVID, and right now we're in the bottom of the trend. And I've been seeing in the last probably 6 weeks, just seeing a lot of positive trend going on with what you're talking about, sell-through rate and percentages of sales and what properties are selling at. So it's like this is like the perfect time for you guys to be investing in getting your marketing up, because I don't have a crystal ball, but based on market trends and what we've been analyzing, we're seeing a nice upswing flow coming very, very, very soon here. So you want to be on this side of that trend to get your marketing out and get ahead of people before the market gets really hot again, if that makes sense.
Hey, Deb, what have you seen as far as mailing to Georgia residents? Are a lot of people doing it? Are they seeing much of a decline in response rate?
That's interesting. You know, with for those of you who aren't aware, there's Georgia laws that require you put these really gross disclaimers all over your envelopes and on your letters. Because of that, it has deterred most people from even mailing into Georgia. What I do know is the few people that are getting action, and it's probably because there isn't a lot of mail competition in the state, because most people have decided not to do that. I highly recommend when mailing to mail always a letter first, but however, when you're mailing into Georgia, to do a postcard, only because at least you can get that message in front of them, right? Because they can't just look at the envelope and see that it says this is not a real offer or blah, blah, blah. So at least you have a postcard. It still has that disclaimer on it that you're not required to take an offer that may not be fair market value. The language is really strong, but at least with the postcard, they're at least seeing who you are, what you have to offer, and there's a higher likelihood of them actually seeing your message than with a letter. But I wouldn't deter from mailing in Georgia. The other thing is we have an add-on product, an online product that we actually take your list, social match on all the people on your list, and also with Google. So we do a retargeting thing, and we can actually do banner ads, digital ads to anyone on your list. So that we rarely recommend doing that without mailing, but that is one thing that I recommend into Georgia that you can do without mailing, is to have, be hitting these people with online ads that for those of you that aren't real familiar with it, they show in their personal news feeds, like so Facebook and Instagram, but also all the Google networks and Gmail and YouTube. So they're seeing these ads all over all of these different platforms, and then when they click on it, it takes them to your website. So it's a really smart way to market into Georgia, along with mail, or if you just want to give it a try without mail. But I wouldn't, for that reason alone, that no one's marketing there because of all the craziness, I would highly recommend you test it.
That's a great idea. I know it probably depends a lot on volume and all that kind of stuff, but just generally speaking, what's the approximate price range if you want to do that in Georgia without mailing?
Yeah, you'd be looking at what we recommend is 5,000 records a month. So you're marketing to 5,000 people on a list a month. 3 months is for you guys, because you get 20% off, is $2,000. And that's all inclusive. So $2,000 for 3 months of marketing. We do all the ads, we do everything. The only thing we don't do is the YouTube video, but we can. If you want us to produce one, it's just an additional fee. But if you think about how much postage is, postage just went up 2 weeks ago to 46 cents. So that's a lot of bang for your buck for 3 months, marketing to that many people.
All right, guys, I'm going to keep getting to these questions. Just an FYI, Deb and I are giving out offers for everyone that was on this call. So thank you for staying on. Engagement has been really good. I put in a link for a free demo call, which gives you a 7-day free trial of Land Insights Pro. And we'll also give you $100 in free credits. So you can use that link right there, copy and paste it in your browser, and we'll get you hooked up with a free trial. You can test out the API, test out this whole process. So we'll be sharing this, and you can reverse engineer this process and start doing it yourself. So recommend you try it out, and you might talk to Pete or Coach in that call. And Pete and Coach, they're both land investors. So any land investing questions you have, or like product related questions you have, they'll be able to handle it there. And then Deb, you want to give details on the offer Rocket Print's giving out?
Yeah, so we have a couple. The first one is for any new customers, or if you want to just buy a 5,000 letter package, we're having an offer right now that's $850 for 5,000 letters they're full color letters. It doesn't include the postage, but you can mail those in increments of as small as 500 at a time, and they never expire. It's an amazing offer compared to any of the competition out there. I think it runs about $600, almost half of what you would pay somewhere else for the same thing. And then we have our large volume discounts that we're running in conjunction with Land Insights. So those are available. You can see those on the Land Insights landing page, which is rocketprintandmail.com/Land Insights. And then, like I just mentioned, all of our online products are 20% off this week as well. So all kinds of things. We'll find you a deal. We got a few going on here. We found that Ryland, are you still busy there? I can talk about yeah. You're up? Okay.
Look, go ahead and chime in.
Oh no, I was just saying, there's free color in the letters, and we do that. We try to do that with all of our products because we found that, adding color to a letter does get a higher response rate. It also, with what we do with that color, we'll help you with it. We'll make it look very business formatted, with the logo. One of the number one things your end user, your prospect is looking for is security, knowing that you're reputable. So what we found with Land, hands down, is you do want it to look professional. So we started doing the free color offer because we know it works. It's part of the reason we do it, and we know it's going to help you.
Yeah. And also to note, tomorrow I'm showing you guys a Claude script I made to automate the template build out to build like a really optimal letter for you guys. So I want to teach you guys how you can quickly use AI to just build out this whole business. And you can toy with it, make adjustments to it, and you can factor in all this like knowledge from the internet on what converts direct mail. So I'm going to build out a script with you guys that can build out a letter template. So we can implement that color template that Deb was talking about. And we'll also automate the pricing process as well with the API. So make sure you guys stay tuned and attend tomorrow. All right. One question I see in here, Lu Fong asks, I'm curious who's sending out weekly mailers. And for those who do, are you doing market selection weekly or are you doing it monthly? So what I do in my business is a monthly market research. It's pretty easy to just pump it all out for the month in one day. So that's what I do on the monthly basis. I look at our previous KPIs. I determine what we're going to remarket and then what we're going to try out, like new markets we're going to try out. And then from there, I literally just get those lists prepared and then I just schedule our marketing to go out. So for mail, it's like I'm going to schedule a quarter of it to go out week 1, the other quarter to go week 2, week 3, week 4. So market research once a month and then weekly marketing going out. Some people just do market research every week too. So either way works.
Yeah, with us, and I think that's what Ryan's alluding to, is you have a campaign coordinator, so you can send the list and you can just you don't have to schedule it. They'll do it for you. You just tell them, oh, here's a list of 5,000 and I want you to mail an even amount every week for 6 weeks, and they'll just do it for you. So they are there to help with that kind of thing. So it makes it really easy for you. They'll just schedule it out for you. If that makes it, that's why most people do it just like Rylan said, 1 month, and then we just schedule it out. So it just goes on its own. You don't have to worry about it.
Mike asked how often I remarket county or zip code. I usually do like 2 times a year. You can do like 2 to 4 times a year. Deb, what have you seen has been the most effective, if you have any data on that, for remarketing?
Well, it's like everything in this business, and especially land. It's like one county is different than the other, and the state's different from another. It has a lot to do with competition. I will say, like you said, before COVID, people would mail once a year to the list. I would say a lot of people are doing quarterly now, and some of that has to do with limited market area, meaning they live in North Carolina and they only want to market in North Carolina. So when you're limited to only so many records too, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to go to California. So, some people limit themselves to that, but also that if you're not doing anything other than mail, you really do need to probably be out there once a quarter with all the competition that's there. You need to get back to the top of top of the pile, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that just market the same counties like once a month, just because that's the only market they really know. I wouldn't advise that. But yeah, I think quarterly's a good cadence. I also recommend testing a lot. A lot of my markets, 50-50, 50% remarketing, 50% new marketing, testing out new markets. So that's kind of the sweet spot to live in. Because we want to find those markets and then hone in on those markets, add it to that remarketing list, so to speak.
That's smart, really smart. Yeah, you want to add the new to what you already have out there.
Hey, Ron, I think Jay Birkenkamp had his hand up, but I don't know if it still is.
Jay, shoot. Oh, maybe he dropped off. I'm not sure.
Sounds like we lost him.
Mike asked, how similar is what you just showed in line with what Sumner calls non-obvious markets? So I did like a generic market research query, right? I said, like, find me the highest sell-through rate, highest days or lowest days on market, best pending. That's like kind of your standard case. This is kind of a new strategy of non-obvious markets. It's like, okay, find me the best demand counties, rank it against these other factors, population growth, all of that. It's kind of a new strategy. But what I would recommend doing is, I'm not sure where Sumner's non-obvious market lesson is. I don't know if it's in his course or it's on YouTube, but I recommend trying that out with this new process as well. Like factor in the non-obvious market technique, make a little script for it, tie it into some new data points that are non-obvious data points. So then you can make an ultra non-obvious script. So like, I want to tell you guys, this is not the final way to do anything. I'm just showing you a technique that works, that finds good markets. Go find different data points, toy around with the weights. And then I always recommend, like, tell Claude in that script, hey Claude, explain to me why you ranked these counties this way. Give me very specific details so you can fact check Claude. Another thing I also recommend doing is when you run a query with Claude, tell it, hey, after you give me results, fact check and go through your results again and make sure you miss nothing. So you're like telling it to double check itself in case it messes up or doesn't provide enough data. So that's something I've always implemented is like a fact checking algorithm basically for Claude. You just tell it, hey, once you give me the results, fact check it, go through all of it again and give me the results. Because this is very valuable information. We want to make accurate decisions and be specific with your script. Lay out all the things you want it to do, how to analyze it, all of that. All right, guys, any other questions?
Hey, Ryan, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know one of the non-obvious things that Sumner talks about is, maybe not being right next to a major metro, like the one county over, for example. Just in your own, I know you don't have the data in front of you, but like you've done a lot of counties around the country. Have you noticed a big difference to, 2, 3, 4, 5 counties from a major metro versus one county from a major metro in total ROAS? Because I know your response rates goes down a little bit, but that doesn't mean your ROAS goes down, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the state you're working in. Like if you go choose a market right next to Raleigh, North Carolina, your response rate's going to be so bad. Maybe if you go over one market, for like two markets from Raleigh, your response rate's going to be a little better. I'm not guaranteeing that, but like that's what I've seen. But if you go right outside a metro in a weird state like South Dakota, you might get a really good response rate because nobody really markets South Dakota, right? So it's dependent on like where you think people are working. We all know people work a lot in the Southeast. So when you're choosing a market right outside a metro or inside a metro in the Southeast, it's going to be competitive. So like out there, go find those honey hole markets. Maybe there's a town in the middle of your county that has a decent population. It's like a micro metro. You'll get good response rates out there, and there's also going to be a good buyer pool because population is going to be up. So yeah, that's kind of my answer to that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah. Also, you guys support only land. I mean, you can pull houses in if you want. Like we have housing data. We have all the data on real estate in the U.S. So if you want to pull houses, you can definitely do that through the system. Other businesses I could think of, you could run a pool company with this. You could run like a pool service company and outreach. let's say you extract a list of your neighborhood or just like your zip code, and then you use Claude Cowork with Chrome extension. Say, hey, go through every single property in this list I just exported and tell me which one has a pool. And remove anything that doesn't have a pool. So there's an idea. Lawn care, hey Claude, Chrome extension, look at every single property on satellite imagery. Let me know every property that has lawn on it. That's
I had a call with a crop dusting company last week. They're looking for 1,000-acre plus parcels because those guys generally need crop dusters.
Yeah, there's a ton you can do with this data. It's crazy. But that's that specific thing I was talking about earlier where the Chrome extension comes in. It takes over your computer, it looks at the property and pulls up the satellite imagery within the lot lines, and it can analyze the satellite imagery. It just takes a long time. Right on, guys. Well, I guess we can leave it here. Just an FYI, we're meeting at the same exact time tomorrow and the next day. We're going to keep pumping out valuable info. I'm just trying to keep it all strategy based so you guys can come away with something. So if you have any questions, bring them to the next call. We're happy to help out and super excited to meet tomorrow.
One question that came up in the chat, I forgot, it wasn't sure the answer is when and if these are recorded and how they'll get delivered.
Yeah, they're recorded. We're going to put it probably in a Google Drive temporarily, and then it'll go up on YouTube. So if you want the recording, you can message. Oh no, we'll get it to you guys. I'll make sure we get it to you guys tomorrow. So we'll send out a Google Drive with the recording tomorrow. Yeah. So we'll directly outreach you guys. Sounds good. All right, y'all. Appreciate it. Thank you, Deb, for helping on.
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
See ya.